Welcome back to Moonlight Confessions. Real stories. Names changed. I'm Mia, and 2 weeks before my wedding I opened one email that changed everything. Tonight I'll tell you how a quiet timeline turned into a decision I never thought I'd make, and why I don't regret canceling the big day. My name is Mia. I'm 34. I color code spreadsheets for a living, and I thought I was marrying a man who loved how calm I am about almost everything. His name, let's call him Ethan, is 35. He loves systems too. Meal prep on Sundays, the same route for his morning run, the kind of person who keeps a tiny toolkit in his car just in case. We were a practical romance, which for a long time felt like a promise. The wedding grew out of practical things. We compared venues the way other couples compare couches. Capacity, parking, vendor lists. We picked a place with tall windows and a string-light courtyard that looked like a photograph waiting to happen. We paid deposits that made my stomach flutter: band, venue, photographer, catering, each with due dates that lived in a shared note labeled June ceremony. If you glanced at our fridge, you'd find magnets holding up fabric swatches and a tasting menu dotted with our initials. The planning was busy in the way holidays are busy. Lists that never ended, relatives offering help you weren't sure you needed, decisions that somehow mattered and didn't at the same time. I kept telling myself, this is temporary. Breathe through it. Keep talking. Ethan and I promised to do exactly that, keep talking whenever the calendar felt louder than our actual lives. We split the work according to temperament. I handled contracts and emails, my comfort zone. He handled suits, transportation, and the playlist for the last hour of the night, which he took as seriously as a mission. He called it closing credits, and kept testing songs in the kitchen, turning our quiet apartment into a 15-second dance floor while pasta boiled. Our families were excited in different registers. My mother sent links at 6 a.m. to shoes I would never wear but always thanked her for. His mother cared about forms of address, whether the invitations should include middle initials, whether his uncle preferred Bill or William. These were small negotiations, the kind that make a wedding feel like an event instead of a life. There were moments that felt like the part of a movie where everything goes right. We found the right suit on the third try. My dress needed only minor alterations. The florist understood, not too perfect, without me explaining it twice. On a good day I could imagine the whole evening as a single warm scene: candles, the courtyard lights, our friends laughing like they had nowhere else to be. If there was pressure, it was the ordinary kind. Budgets with opinions, schedules that nudge you toward being a version of yourself that has more hours than a day allows. Ethan started staying late at work, to cover the quarter end. I started waking up early to answer vendor emails before my real job. We passed each other in the hallway like commuters, tapping phones against phones to confirm Venmo reimbursements for deposits and tips. It sounds cold when I say it out loud. It didn't feel cold. It felt like teamwork. People love to tell engaged couples their best and worst advice. The best thing I heard was simple: notice the small good things, they're proof you're still here. I tried. The small good things were everywhere if I looked. The way Ethan left my favorite tea on the counter on Mondays. The fact that he remembered to ask about my friend's surgery. The way he always reached for my hand when we crossed busy streets, as if we were navigating something much larger than traffic. 2 weeks before the wedding, our apartment looked like a shipping depot, boxes stacked by the door, labeled in my handwriting. Escort cards, candles, favors. I had a packing list for the day of, a rain plan, a reminder to eat breakfast no matter what. I thought I had a handle on everything that mattered. I didn't know yet that the most important list I would make wasn't for a party. It would be a timeline. And it would start with one message I opened on a Sunday night when the city was quiet, and I was finally still enough to notice what didn't fit. The first change was so small it could have been kindness. Ethan started saying, "You rest, I'll lock up," and he'd collect both of our phones from the coffee table. Mine went on the charger. His went face down, screen dark, a new do not disturb mode I hadn't seen before. He said it helped him sleep. Maybe it did. Maybe that was the point. Work got intense. Quarter end, vendor rollout, phrases that sound like white noise unless you're the person who misses someone in the middle of them. He stayed later, not late, just enough to always miss dinner and arrive home when the dishwasher was already humming. He'd kiss my hair, say he'd eaten with the team, and go straight to the shower like the day had stuck to him. Sometimes he smelled like hotel soap, that unspecific lemon scent buildings use when they're trying to impress you. I told myself that planning a wedding throws off everyone's rhythm. I told myself that he was making space for stress in the only way he knew how. By containing it, putting phone calls into neat little boxes I wasn't required to open. He said he didn't want to dump work on me. I said thank you and meant it. The calendar learned new words. Walk through with the caterer became quick stop by the caterer, then drinks with a supplier. Tux fitting became they ran behind, I grabbed a bite with the rep. None of it sounded impossible. None of it sounded like us either. We're the couple who texts each other photos of produce when we're apart. This peach is ridiculous. By 3. Now I was getting one-line updates and silent bubbles that meant he was typing, then not. Money added its own quiet voice. I track our shared card because budgets are how I sleep at night. On a Wednesday there was a bar charge across town, small, forgettable. On Friday morning an early pharmacy purchase for under $60. Vitamins? Maybe. We're both 30-something. Everyone we know is suddenly about electrolytes. I started noticing timing more than facts. Messages sent exactly when I'd be in a meeting. Missed calls that looked like proof he tried. A new habit of leaving his watch on the dresser when he went just to the gym, even though he wears it to count steps in the kitchen. I told myself it was nothing. I told myself a lot of things. When I did raise something softly like you do when you hope you're wrong, he touched my shoulder and said, "You're carrying so much right now. Let me take the logistics, you take a bath." Sounded like care. Maybe part of it was. Another part felt like a door gently closing with me on the hallway side. And then the pieces stopped floating and started lining up. Not proof, patterns. Times, places, the way a new story was always ready. That's when I opened a blank note on my phone and titled it with the calmest word I could find. Timeline. I didn't know yet what I'd write inside. I just knew I needed something that belonged to me. The first clue didn't look dramatic. It looked like an email subject line. Your claim summary is ready. It was from our insurer, the kind you ignore until tax season. I opened it because I was already at my laptop, half asleep and sorting vendor invoices. The timestamp on the claim matched the morning after one of Ethan's late supplier drinks. The item description was vague but specific enough. OTC emergency contraceptive, billed to his HSA card. Member ID ending in his numbers. I didn't confront the screen. I made tea. I sat at the kitchen table and watched the kettle breathe while the apartment hummed. When he came home I asked what vitamins he'd picked up. He said magnesium and zinc, like the words had been in his mouth all day waiting to be useful. I nodded, said good idea, and wrote both minerals in a note right under the insurer's line item like I was taking minutes at a meeting. The second clue was a building that keeps better records than people. Our video intercom logs guest access. Usually it's deliveries and door dings from neighbors who forgot their keys. That week, a Thursday entry read, guest code 11:23 p.m. No delivery, no package notification. The camera stills showed the shape of a man stepping in after my floor's elevator ping. He wore a jacket like Ethan's, held the phone the way he holds his, left a blur that looked too much like us to be polite coincidence. I took a screenshot, labeled it with the time and didn't show anyone. Money, which had whispered, started clearing its throat. Our shared card showed Barrel and Stone 10:17 p.m., the bar across town, not near our venue, not near the Tux shop, not between work and home. Riding home, he'd used rideshare for a 7-minute trip that ended 2 blocks from a boutique hotel with a lobby that photographs well. I know because I photographed it the day we looked at venues. It had the same citrus cedar scent that had started following him into our hallway. None of this is proof to a person who doesn't want it to be. Proof, I've learned, is what you accept when explanations run out. Ethan's explanations were quick and tidy. Supplier drink, bar too loud. You know I don't like to drive if I had a beer. Wrong pharmacy item on the statement. It happens. Each sentence snapped into place like a lid. So I did something I'm not proud of because it works. I borrowed the logic he respects. Systems redundancy tracking. When he left his garment bag by the door for a final fitting, I slid one of my AirTags, the tiny white kind we use for suitcases, into the lining. I told myself it was to keep the bag safe. Some lies you tell yourself so softly they sound like manners. 2 nights later, the tag pinged to life at 9:52 p.m. Not At the tailor, not near his gym but at that same boutique hotel. The dot stayed there for 83 minutes, drifted half a block, maybe for food, maybe for air, and then headed home in the back of a car. On the app it looked like a child's drawing. A circle, a small line, another circle. In my chest it felt like a verdict I wasn't ready to read out loud. I still didn't scream. I folded laundry. I watered the plants. When he came in, the hotel scent arrived before he did: lemon, cedar, a hint of soap that isn't ours. He kissed my hair, said the tailor took forever, and dropped a receipt on the counter like a trophy. Alterations, hem, sleeve. The timestamp was 6:14 p.m. hours. Before the AirTag dot blinked in the lobby. People think the moment you know is fireworks or a slammed door. Mine was a spreadsheet. I made columns. Time, place, story, source. Under source I wrote mundane things. Insurer email, intercom log, rideshare receipt, AirTag ping. Under story I wrote his words exactly. When I finished, the columns didn't argue. They just sat there, parallel and incompatible. I closed the laptop and finally named what the note had been all along. Not timeline. Evidence. Not for court. For me. So when the next choice came, I could make it with the same calm I had used to plan a party. 2 weeks before the wedding, the calendar finally got loud enough to hear. It was a Sunday, the kind of quiet evening that smells like laundry and cardboard. Our hallway was stacked with labeled boxes, escort cards, candles, favors, like a little warehouse with my handwriting on it. Ethan kissed my cheek, grabbed the garment bag and said, "Final fitting. I'll be quick." When the door clicked, I opened the Find My app, not for his phone, for the AirTag I'd slid into the lining, so the suit wouldn't get lost. The dot moved across town, paused near the tailor for 10 minutes, long enough to be plausible, and then drifted to a place I knew too well. The boutique hotel with the citrus cedar lobby. I didn't call. I took my keys. I parked a block away, the kind of distance you keep when you don't want coincidence to be the story. The hotel's windows threw warm light onto the sidewalk. I sat with my hands on the wheel and breathed the way my therapist once taught me. In for 4, hold for 4, out for 4. Across the street, the rideshare lanes stacked and emptied like it had its own pulse. At 8:41 p.m. Ethan came out. The glass doors framed him like a portrait. Suit bag over one shoulder, phone in hand, that focused, slightly rushed walk I know from every airport we've ever crossed. A woman stepped into the light seconds later, dark coat, hair up, not a stranger to his posture. They didn't touch. They didn't need to. People who have a story choose the same rhythm without speaking. I didn't make a scene. I took 3 photos. The lobby clock through the glass, the rideshare pickup screen on my phone showing the hotel's pin, and the front plate of the car he slid into. Then I walked into the lobby, bought a bottle of seltzer I didn't want, and kept the time-stamped receipt because proof likes company. Back home, the apartment smelled like our detergent and lemon. I put the seltzer on the counter next to the boxes labeled escort cards and opened my laptop. The spreadsheet I'd used for centerpiece quotes became an evidence sheet. 1814, Taylor receipt 2012, AirTag ping. Hotel lobby 2041 photo. Lobby clock plate rideshare screen 2043 store receipt. Seltzer I didn't label it revenge. I labeled it clarity. He texted at 9:07 p.m., running behind. Hem took longer. Do you want me to grab food? I stared at the words until they looked like shapes. Then I typed, no thanks. We need to talk when you're home. Before bed I pulled the venue contract from the June ceremony folder and highlighted the cancellation clause. Non-refundable deposit, sliding fee within 14 days. My stomach dipped and then steadied. I wanted truth more than string lights. The dot on the app moved toward our neighborhood. I closed the laptop and turned the box's labels to the wall so they wouldn't watch me. Tomorrow would be the conversation. Tonight was the last page of a version of my life that had run out of edits. I didn't rehearse a speech. I put the seltzer bottle on the counter beside the boxes labeled escort cards and candles, turned their labels to the wall and waited. Ethan came in at 9:32 p.m., suit bag over his shoulder, lobby soap scent arriving a step ahead of him. Taylor was a mess, he said, kissing the air near my cheek. Want me to? We're going to talk, I said, calm enough to hear the fridge hum. His keys paused over the bowl. Okay. What's wrong? 2 paths, I said. Truth or cancel. If you want truth. 30 days of phone transparency, your calendar shared, therapy booked this week, And we tell both families the wedding is paused while we do this right. If you want to keep your privacy, we cancel now and stop pretending. He laughed once, managerial soft. This is extreme. I set my laptop on the island and opened evidence like a recipe. Insurance email, I said, reading the line. OTC emergency contraceptive, billed to your HSA. He blinked. Miscoded vitamins. It happens. Intercom log. Guest code 11:23 p.m. the night you said you were home by 10. Delivery, he tried. Rideshare to Barrel and Stone at 10:17 p.m. and a 7-minute hop to the Astor Hotel. Then the AirTag in your garment bag pinged in that lobby for 83 minutes. Tonight. Did you track me? His voice sharpened. That's a violation. The tag was for the bag, I said. I wasn't trying to lose the suit. He rubbed his jaw, buying time. It's not what you think. Then it will be easy to choose truth, I said, sliding the phone toward him. Unlock. Share calendar. Book therapy. We call the venue tomorrow and pause together. He stared at the screen like it owed him loyalty. Out of principle, I'm not giving up my phone. That's cancel, I said. The word sat between us without echo. He switched scripts. It was a mistake, not a thing. I was overwhelmed. I needed air. Air doesn't have a lobby, I said. And it doesn't bill through our insurance. He glanced at the boxes, at my neat handwriting turned to the wall. You're really going to blow up the wedding? Over one misunderstanding. I'm not blowing it up, I said. I'm refusing to build it on a hole. Silence. The kind that rearranges furniture. He tried one more door. Can we at least get married and deal with this after? Your mother isn't marrying me, I said. You are. And the person I'm marrying doesn't hide behind principles when I ask for honesty. He looked smaller then, like the suit bag weighed more than fabric. I can fix it. You can choose truth, I said, and pushed the phone one last inch toward him. He didn't touch it. I closed the laptop. Hey. Then tomorrow I'll call the venue and the vendors. We'll handle refunds and fees. You can sleep in the spare room tonight. He swallowed. You're serious? I'm precise, I said. I washed the single glass in the sink, dried it, and placed it upside down. He stood there long enough for the dishwasher to finish its cycle. When he finally moved, the guest room door clicked the way a decision does when it's done being debated. I set an alarm for 8 a.m. and wrote 3 lines on a sticky note for morning. Venue. Band. Photographer. Truth or cancel had been a question when he walked in. By the time I turned off the kitchen light, it was an answer. Morning made everything simple. At 8 a.m. I opened the notebook, looked at the sticky note, venue, band, photographer, and started dialing. The venue first. I asked for events, gave our date, and said the word out loud. Cancellation. The manager was kinder than the contract. We'd lose the deposit and half the balance within 14 days, that's the math. But she waived a setup fee and offered to donate our dessert order to the staff. I wrote the numbers in the margin and underlined paid. The band was next. Our lead singer sounded genuinely sorry. He kept saying, we can hold a credit for a smaller event later, as if there'd be something smaller to sing at. I took the credit anyway and wrote credit beside their name. The photographer split the retainer, half back now, half as a future session if I ever wanted it. I didn't know what I'd want. I took the half. Between calls I turned boxes so my handwriting faced the wall. I stacked escort cards on the chair and slid candles into the hall closet. It felt like changing a scene without changing the set. I sent 2 family emails, one to mine, one to his, 3 sentences each. The wedding is paused, we're working through a private matter. Please cancel travel if needed and send receipts so I can handle changes. My mother called immediately. I love you, she said first. Eat, she said second. His mother wrote a paragraph about disappointment and grace and how couples push through storms. I replied, we're not pushing. We're stopping. I texted the bridal party. No speculation, please. Okay. Then I moved my ring into its velvet box and let the indent on my finger do whatever it wanted with the day. Ethan stayed in the guest room and spoke in logistics. I'll find a short-term place, he said, as if we were managing a water leak. He offered a version of an apology that kept the door propped. Overwhelmed, nothing serious, privacy matters. I repeated my terms once, not like an ultimatum but like a menu. transparency, shared calendar, therapy, tell the families it's paused. He said again principles. I said again cancel. By late afternoon I'd spoken to the florist, the caterer and the rental company. I forwarded confirmation emails into a folder named closures because I needed at least one word to match how it felt. At night I drafted a message to our guests. Due to a personal matter, our wedding will not take place as planned. I copied the venue's hotel block info so people could cancel without fees. Then I turned off the porch light and sat in the dark living room until my eyes adjusted. None of it felt dramatic. It felt like precision, moving 100 small levers until the room matched the truth. By the end of day 2, Ethan had a sublet, my inbox held a stack of refunds and fees, and the apartment was quieter in a way that didn't ask me to ignore it. Week 1 was logistics and quiet. I finished the last refunds, mailed back 2 rental items someone had tucked behind the couch, and moved the closures folder to the top of my inbox. Ethan texted practical questions, utilities, the dog's vet file, where the steamer lived. I answered with nouns and times. No essays. Week 2 was echoes. People who hadn't checked their email yet reached out. Wait, what happened? I sent the same sentence to everyone. The wedding is cancelled. We're handling a private matter. I slept, not like a hero, like someone whose house finally matches her calendar. Week 3 brought the part you ask about, consequences. He called and opened with, HR pulled me in. Not about me, about Paige. She had gone to HR after finding out we were engaged. She told them she felt misled. There's a company policy about relationships and power dynamics during vendor deals. He said words like witch hunt and overblown. I said a policy is just truth written down before anyone gets hurt. He was transferred to a different team while they reviewed. He hated the word review. He said it like an insult and also like it might save him. That night he sent a longer message. I miss us. Let's fix it off camera. We can do something small at City Hall and rebuild in private. I stared at small until it meant unaccountable. Then I replied once cleanly, the terms haven't changed, transparency, therapy and telling the truth out loud. I'm not marrying privacy. He didn't answer for a day. Then, I can't live like I'm under audit. I typed, then don't live with me. Meanwhile, real life kept choosing me back. I moved the boxes we'd labeled escort cards and candles to the closet and put flowers on the table for no reason that needed defending. I took the ring to the jeweler to resize the future it represented. Store credit issued, the receipt said. I walked home with a tiny paper bag that didn't feel heavy. Paige emailed me once, brief, careful. I won't contact you again. I'm sorry for my part. I didn't know the whole truth. I wrote back one sentence. Thank you for telling your own. Then I archived it. Not for revenge. For record keeping of the kind that lets your brain stand up straight. My mother asked if I wanted to rebook the venue, someday. I said no in a voice that surprised both of us with how steady it sounded. Someday isn't a place, it's a fog. I prefer streets with names. So that's the update. He's in a sublet with a transfer. I'm in an apartment that no longer argues with itself. The wedding didn't get postponed. It got replaced with mornings that start honest, a calendar that keeps its appointments, and a version of me who reads subject lines and believes what they say the first time. I used to think big decisions arrive with trumpets. This one arrived as clarity, quiet, specific, not interested in applause. Here's what I know now. Love isn't the absence of hard truths. It's the capacity to hear them and still hold the door open to honesty. Privacy is beautiful after trust. Before it, it's just a curtain anyone can hide behind. And weddings are not proof. They are plans. The proof is how two people behave before the plans. When people ask if I regret canceling, I picture the boxes by the door with my handwriting turned to the wall, and the way the room finally matched the truth inside it. I didn't burn my life down. I rearranged it so it would stop arguing with itself. I don't hate him. Hate takes energy I'd rather spend on groceries and sunlight and remembering to water the basil. I also don't romanticize him. He made choices, I made different ones. I can hold both facts without making either of us a myth. If you're where I was, staring at a timeline and wishing it would become a story with a different ending, start small and daily. Write things down so your brain doesn't have to carry them alone. Ask for the version of privacy that is earned by transparency. When someone calls your clarity paranoia, check your receipts, not their tone. My future didn't shrink. It got accurate. The ring indentation fades on its own schedule. The apartment is quieter and the quiet belongs to me. I buy flowers on Tuesdays for no reason that needs defending. The porch light goes off at a reasonable hour. I sleep the sleep you get after a decision, not a victory. He said he missed us. I miss the version of me who thought the subject line might be wrong. But I'm proud of the version who opened it, believed it, and chose herself without screaming. So that's my ending for now. Not a cliffhanger, not a reunion. Just a woman with a calendar that keeps its promises and a house that tells the truth back. Thanks for listening to Moonlight Confessions. Real stories. Names changed. New stories daily. Subscribe. And tell me in the comments, what's your rule number 1 when trust breaks?